Hey guys, welcome back to One Stop Biology. So in today's video, which will be the last video of Chapter 11, Class 12 NCERT, Biotechnology, Principles and Processes, right? So in today's video, we are going to cover the process of recombinant DNA technology. How do we do it from the initial first step till the completion of the technology? So let's see what are the different type of steps of recombinant DNA technology, guys. So guys, the first step is isolation of the genetic material. So basically this is isolation of the genetic material which will be serving as the alien DNA, which you will be using to create a vector and then transfer it to the host cell, right? So this is the isolation of genetic material. Now, now we know that nucleic acid is the genetic material, right? Now this can be DNA, right? So in majority of organisms, this is DNA. Now, in order to cut DNA with restriction enzymes, we need the DNA in its pure form. Okay. Now, what does pure form means? That the piece of DNA that we are going to use is free from any kind of macromolecules. Right. Now, since the DNA is enclosed in a membrane, what we do is first we break the cell open. We basically open the cell, right, along with all the other macromolecules, say such as RNAs, proteins, polysaccharides, lipids, everything will be there. Now, how we open the cell? We treat it. We treat it by what? So, say if it is bacteria, we treat it with lysozyme. If it's a plant cell, since they have cell wall, we treat it with cellulase because plant cell is made up of cellulose. If it is a fungus, we treat it with chitinase, right? So there are various enzymes which are going to break open the cell, right? So depending upon the organism from which you are basically taking out the DNA, you will use certain enzymes. Right? Now we also know that genes are located on long molecules of DNA which are intertwined with proteins. And these proteins are what? These proteins are histone proteins, right? These are histones. Now basically what we do is we remove RNA first. So basically, after breaking the cell, we will get the DNA, coiled DNA, along with all the macromolecules like RNA, protein, polysaccharide, lipids. Now we'll start removing the macromolecules, right? So RNA will be removed by treatment with ribonuclease. Ribonuclease, right? In the same way, all the other molecules like proteins, polysaccharides, lipids will be appropriately treated, and then purified DNA will precipitate out after the addition of ethanol. So we use chilled ethanol to get the purified DNA. Right? Now this will be basically collection of very fine threads. So basically, you can see this collection of DNA in the form of very fine threads, right? So now what we have done is we have isolated the DNA in its pure form. Now next what we are going to do is cut this DNA at specific locations, right? Now how we do it? We do it through restriction enzymes. Now basically what happens? Restriction enzymes digestions are performed by incubating these purified DNA molecules with the restriction enzyme. So what we do is that we basically create an optimal condition for the enzyme, for the restriction enzyme to work. And so what we do is we incubate purified DNA along with restriction enzyme in optimal conditions, and these restriction enzymes start cutting the DNA. right? Now we use agarose gel electrophoresis to check the progression of restriction enzyme digestion. Right. So we have studied it previously as well, that since DNA is a negatively charged molecule, so what happens is during agarose gel electrophoresis, it starts moving towards the positive electrodes, and this process is repeated with the vector DNA also. Right? So basically, the smaller the molecule, the farther it is going to move. Right? Now what we do is amplification of gene. Right? So now we amplify the gene of interest using what? Using polymerase chain reaction. Right? So we use PCR, polymerase chain reaction, to amplify the gene of interest. Right? Now, before we basically amplify, we are going to amplify the gene, what we do is we ligase this DNA of interest with the vector, with the plasmid. How we do it? By using the enzyme ligases, right? So the gene of interest is taken for this from the source DNA, and the cut vector, both are mixed, and ligase is added. As soon as we add ligase, we basically see that the alien DNA gets ligased or added with the cloning vector. And now we get the recombinant DNA. So after this, we are going to amplify the gene using PCR. Okay. Now, guys, what does amplification exactly mean? Right? So amplification of gene of interest means that you are going to basically create multiple copies now. Right? You are going to create multiple copies of that gene or DNA of interest. Right? So we do that by using PCR, which is polymerase chain reaction. So in this reaction, multiple copies of the gene of interest is synthesized, and this is done in vitro, okay, inside the lab. Now, what we do is we use two set of primers, right? Now, these primers are nothing but small chemically synthesized oligonucleotides, right? And these oligonucleotides are complementary to the region of DNA. So the DNA that we are going to to make copies of, we take two set of primers, right? And the enzyme DNA polymerase, right? Now, this enzyme DNA polymerase extends the primer using the nucleotide provided in the reaction and the genomic DNA as template, right? So, if the process of replication of DNA is repeated many times, the segment of DNA can be say amplified to even billion times. So basically, we can even make 1 billion copies, right? Now, such repeated amplification is achieved by use of a thermostable DNA polymerase, right? And this DNA polymerase is isolated from a bacteria which is known as Thermus aquaticus, right? So basically this DNA polymerase remain active during high temperature as well, right? And this induces denaturation of double-stranded DNA. Now the amplified fragment, if desired, can be used to ligate with a vector for future cloning as well, right? So we'll see this again through this flowchart, right? So what we are basically seeing here is that, say, this region that you see from here to here is the region which is to be amplified, right? Now say this is the 5 to 3 end, and this is the 3 to 5 end, right? Now we heat it. This process is known as denaturation, What is happening because of heating is that both the strands are separate now. The 5:3 strand and 3:5 strand. Both the strands are separate now, right? Then we add primers. These are small chemically synthesized oligonucleotides which are complementary to the region of DNA which is to be amplified basically, right? So now we basically add these primers which are complementary to the region which is to be amplified. This process is known as annealing, adding primer, right? So first is denaturation, then annealing. Now after this we add DNA polymerase. Guys, it is also known as Taq polymerase. Why Taq polymerase? Because it has been synthesized from the bacteria Thermus aquaticus, TAQ, Taq. Okay, so we use DNA polymerase mixed with deoxynucleotides, right? Now, what happens because of this is you get the entire complementary strand. Both the sides, you get the entire complementary strand now, right? This process is known as extension. So DNA polymerase is working, and what happened is now the entire strand is synthesized. Now we repeat it. We keep repeating it, say till 30 cycles, right? And this is the amplified DNA that we got. Now it we can produce around 1 billion copies, right? So we can do it up to 1 billion times. Right? So basically, polymerase chain reaction has three different steps. Denaturation, where you basically put it in heat, where the strands get denatured, get separated. Then you anneal the primers. So the next step is annealing. And then you add DNA polymerase and deoxynucleotides, and you complete the formation of opposite strands, and you keep doing it into cycles, and you produce many number of copies of the desired gene, right? So now we have got the gene which is to be added into the host. So the next step would be insertion of this recombinant DNA into the host, right? So the next step is insertion, right? Insertion of this recombinant DNA into the host, right? So what we do is, again, we studied that in the last video as well, that there are several methods, you know, through which you ligate the DNA into recipient cells. So what we do is we make them competent. We make the host cell competent to receive the DNA, right? So that can be done through different methods that we have already discussed in the last video. So if you have not gone through that video, please go through it. Okay. Now say if a recombinant DNA bearing gene for resistance to an antibiotic, which is say ampicillin, is transferred into E. coli cell, the host cell now becomes transformed into ampicillin resistant cells, right? Now if the transformed cells are spread on agar plates containing ampicillin, what will happen is only transformants will grow and the untransformed recipient cells will die, right? So what we did is basically we again used a selectable marker. So the ampicillin resistant gene here is known as the selectable marker, right? So basically what we are doing is we are trying to get the transformant cells, right? Now what happens after you insert the recombinant DNA into the host cell? You obtain the foreign gene product, right? So after the host cell is inserted into, sorry, after the foreign DNA or the recombinant DNA is inserted into the host cell, now this foreign gene starts expressing itself under appropriate conditions, right? Now again, this involves many technical details. Remember that. Right. So what is happening is that the alien DNA is getting multiplied, right? And it starts expressing itself, right? So basically, after having cloned the gene of interest and after having optimized the conditions, one has to always consider producing it on a large scale. Right. Now, say if any protein encoding gene is expressed in a heterologous host, it is known as recombinant protein. So in the same way, what we do is basically you we basically develop a protein coding gene as a recombinant gene as well, right? And these proteins, when they are expressed, they are known as recombinant proteins. Right? Now, basically, these cells which harbor the clone gene of interest that may be grown in a say on an industrial level or in large and small scale, right? And these cultures may be used further. Now, what we'll do then on industrial level is we'll keep on culturing it. We'll keep on changing the medium in which we are basically culturing them. We'll keep on draining out the used medium and add fresh medium, right? And make these cells comfortable and active. And we'll start creating these cells on an exponential level as well. So you'll see an active log and an exponential growth, right? So basically, this type of culturing method produces a large biomass leading to higher yields of desired, say, proteins, right? So basically, to produce in large quantities, we developed bioreactors. Right? So what we do in bioreactors is that there is large volume, say 100 to 1000 liters of culture can be processed. And this bioreactor provides optimal condition for achieving the desired product by providing optimum growth conditions, temperature, pH, substrate, salt, vitamins, oxygens, and whatnot, which is needed. Right? So the most commonly used bioreactors are the stirring type. And what happens there? A stirred tank reactor is a cylinder, basically, right? So it is cylindrical and it might have a curved base as well, right? Now, this cylinder facilitates mixing of reactor contents, right? There is a stirrer as well inside. So this stirrer basically facilitates mixing of oxygen and everything which is available throughout the bioreactor, right? And alternatively, we have the a passage through which air can be bubbled through the reactor, right? Now apart from that, bioreactor has an agitator system. So what happens is oxygen delivery system is there and a foam control system is there along with that, right? Then we have different control systems for temperature, pH. We sample the ports, right? So basically we keep on withdrawing very small quantity of culture to check whether the samples which are coming out is correct or not. Okay, so guys, the first diagram that you see is nothing but a simple stirred tank bioreactor. So you have a motor, you have a foam breaker, you have a flat bladed impeller, you have a culture broth, you have acid base, so basically pH for pH control, you have steam, this is for sterilization. You'll have to keep it completely sterilized, right? And then you have the sterile air coming out, right? So this is a simple stirred tank bioreactor. Now you'll see another bioreactor as well where air bubbles are sparged. So this is a sparged stirred tank reactor. Now you'll see what happens here. So basically we have this, you can see, is nothing but gas entrainment, right? So there is an increased surface area, and why the surface area is increased here, right? If here this surface area is increased for oxygen transfer. So there is increased surface area for oxygen transfer, right? And how we do it? We do it through bubbles, right? So these bubbles basically dramatically increase oxygen transfer area, right? So guys, this is the sparge stirred tank bioreactor. Now what happens after this? What is the last step? The last step of recombinant DNA technology is downstream processing. It is downstream processing, right? So after we, you know, basically start making the product, the basically changed host that we want to produce with respect to, say, change in genes, change in proteins, getting desired proteins. So after completion of that biosynthetic stage, this product that we are forming has to be subjected to a series of processes before it is ready for marketing as a finished product. This process includes separation and purification. And separation and purification, separation and purification. So basically, these two processes together are known as downstream processing, right? So basically, the product has to be formulated with suitable preservatives to keep it safe, right? Safe from, so basically to keep it sterilized and to keep it active, we use preservatives, right? To preserve it for longer duration. So the product basically gets formulated with suitable preservatives. Now, such formulation has to undergo through clinical trials, right? So, say in case of we are producing this in the form of drugs, we then go through clinical trials, right? And there is a strict quality testing for each product which is required, right? So after we separate it, we purify it, right? We add preservatives to it to keep it active for a longer duration. Then we start off with trials. So we basically call for volunteers who want to get try, get who want to try these drugs on themselves, and basically the downstream processing and quality control testing that varies from product to product, but there's a very intense quality uh, test that happens before we start marketing it, or use it as a finished product, right? So guys, with this we have completed all the steps of recombinant DNA technology, and we have also finished the chapter biotechnology principles and processes. So guys, I hope you would have understood the entire process of recombinant DNA technology. Please do give a like and share it with your friends if you have. And yes, if you have any problem, please do shoot up your doubts either in the comments right now, or you can also message me your doubts over WhatsApp. I have given the WhatsApp number in the description of the video. But yes, please do give me your feedback. And guys, if you are new to the channel, please do subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon to get all the updated videos that I'll be posting. Thanks for watching, guys. Take care. Bye bye.